Hello everyone and welcome to what is just going to be called text, I believe. I have like the previous video or the blur video that you may or may not have watched at this point, depending on the order in which you watch these, skipped ahead. I'm going to sort of say it on each of these. These are going to be sort of abbreviated versions of videos because for the most part a lot of the setting up of the file is stuff you've done. I've set this file up in a way that sort of gets me about halfway there. Like the blur filter video, I'm sort of going to skip ahead to the portion that is important. So basically, I have steps 1 through 23 already done here. And this is basically, and I'm not going to read over these, I have 3 layers, twinkle, twinkle, little. I have these as graphics. So I have twinkle, twinkle, little, moving across the stage as such. Please follow the way in which I have this done because it's going to be important to the new stuff that we have. Okay, I'm going to pick it up at step 24, which is creating a mask layer. And there's a couple tricky things on this that I want to sort of point out. The first one is that step 24, and I'm just going to start in there. Create a new graphic with the word star by repeating steps 6 through 15. That's basically a simple step, but the difference is here, make sure to break apart the star graphic twice. Okay, you'll note, and I've made my star graphic already, it's been broken apart. Okay, it's different than the little, which isn't broken apart because I just animated that thing. Okay, I just moved that thing. This needs to be broken apart because we're going to sort of deal with it in a different way, in particular in what's called mask mode. Okay, so it needs to be broken apart twice. Okay, so you draw your text box. I'll sort of quickly show this. Star, and then we modify, break apart, and then break apart again. Okay, that turns it into that vector-based graphic. Okay, so we can see that by clicking on those individual letters. So that is step 24. Create a new graphic with the word star by repeating those steps. The only addition, I have it in big bold there, make sure to break apart the star graphic twice. Now, step 25, and this is where it gets a little tricky and you have to sort of understand the concept here. Create a new layer called star masked. Okay, and I'm going to sort of pronunciate that very loudly each time I do it. Masked. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this star masked. Okay. Next it says create a new layer called star mask. Okay, note the difference, masked and masked. So we have 2 layers, one mask and one masked. Okay. Step 27, which I've already done, choose import to the library stars.jpg. You should have that in your library already. I stated that at the beginning of the exercise. On the star mask layer, it says create a motion tween with the star graphic from 150 to 220 from middle left to middle right. Okay, so this is on star mask layer. So I'm going to go up to frame 150. I'm going to insert a keyframe. I'm going to grab the star graphic, pop it over here. It says to go up to 220. I'm going to insert a frame. I'm going to create a motion tween, and I'm going to simply move this guy from left to right. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, next thing we have to do with is deal with this what's called masked. Okay, so this is going to be step 29. Double click on the layer icon all the way to the left of the star mask layer. A window should appear where you choose this layer to be the mask layer. You got to really pay attention to these sort of delineations. So this is this tiny little icon right over here. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to go to my layer properties here. Okay, in my layer properties I have this thing called type. It says normal right now. We want to choose this to be the mask layer. Okay, you'll see that you have 2 different masked and masked. Okay, I want this to be masked. Watch what happens to the icon up at the top left. It turns into this little tiny icon, which is a mask icon, and that's sort of denoting that it's going to basically be the thing in which we look through to sort of see what's behind it. Okay, if that doesn't make sense, hopefully it'll make sense here in a second. Next, it says on, this is step 30, on the star mask layer, insert a keyframe at 150. Okay, so I'm going to insert a keyframe. And then step 31, it says on the star mask layer, insert a frame at 220. So we're just basically giving this the same amount of space that we gave the other one. Okay, so we have these two things, they occupy the same amount of frames. Now, next it says grab the stars.jpg image from the library and drop it on the star mask layer so it occupies frames 150 through 220. Position it so that it covers the entire stage. I've sized this already, so it actually should fit the entire stage. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm on star masked layer here, okay, and I'm dragging stars.jpg, okay. It's actually the size, it's 800 by 600, I have it sized already. And I'm positioning it on that keyframe, okay? I've extended that out to 220, so it should occupy the entire space, okay? Now, we are sort of on our way to setting up a relationship between these two layers, okay? Step 33, it says double click on the layer icon all the way to the left of star masked. A window will appear and you choose this layer to be the masked layer. So let's watch this. I double click on that tiny icon there. I go to my layer options and now I have the option to be masked. The reason being is this layer property can see that above it we have a layer that's been defined as the masked layer. Okay. Again, if this doesn't make sense, you'll sort of see what it does here in a second. So I'm going to click OK. Now, we're moving on to sound here in a second, but I want to sort of see that I've done this correctly. So I'm going to control test my movie. Whoops, let's get this so we can see it. So I have twinkle, twinkle, little star. And you should see star is no longer red. It is basically sort of empty text that we allow that star image behind it to sort of appear as it animates across, okay? So the word star is the mask. Again, think of a mask on your face, and the image behind it is what is being masked. We can only see through it where we let it be seen, okay? So that's how you set up a relationship between those two things, okay? Now, I'm going to go over some more general stuff after at the end here in relation to Project 2, but we want to add sound to our movie now. I've already imported Twinkle Wave, and I'm going to upload both a Twinkle Wave and an MP3. They're basically the same sound. Depending on if you're working on a PC or a Mac or any other operating system, if you're having trouble, try both of these. I've found over the years that the WAV file works better sort of across the board. So I'm going to use the WAV file. Okay. So step 34, it says import to the library the sound Twinkle Wave. And then we're going to create a new layer called Twinkle Sound 1. Okay. Oops. Sound 1. And I'm going to put these on the bottom. I'm going to be organized here. It says create a new layer called Twinkle Sound 2. The reason being is that I want to sort of keep things super organized. Let me give myself a little more room there. I want to sort of separate these things out in case I want to sort of alter something later. I want to have that sound sort of separated out. It says click on frame 1 of Twinkle Sound 1. There should already be a keyframe there. Okay. And it says grab the Twinkle Wave from the library and simply drop it on the stage. Sound is this easy. Since we know that Twinkle 1 sort of starts to come in basically on that frame, we're going to actually use that first keyframe. So I'm going to grab this and drop it down there. You'll see that that layer sort of gets occupied basically by some a graphic that sort of displays the sound wave. Next, it says insert a keyframe on frame 60 of the Twinkle Sound 2 layer, and the reason being is that we're sort of lining that up with the second twinkle that's coming through. Okay, so I'm going to click here insert keyframe, okay, and we're just visually lining those two things up. Grab the twinkle wave from the sound from the library and simply drop it on the stage there. We can reuse these things. Okay, so now we have two sounds. One comes in right at frame 1 and one comes in at frame 60 to sort of match our twinkle twinkle. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is what this file should look like when you are done. There's twinkle. And there's our little star. And here's going to come again. They match up because we've basically put them in the right spots. We have little, and then we have star with the layer mask. Okay, we are getting much more complicated with the sort of organization of layers over here. I cannot stress enough that you should organize your sound. You shouldn't put sound on your layer mask layers. The idea is to sort of separate these out so you know where stuff is when you want to fix stuff. Okay. Now, at the beginning of this, and I can't remember if I mentioned this, take a look at what the top says. It sort of talks about using the soundj.com website. The idea with Project 2 is to sort of add sound effects, add different sort of treatments to your text. Remember, you are illustrating a text or quote. You are not putting the entire song in. You're not putting any of the song in if you happen to choose a song lyric. You're creating a new piece of artwork that is a visual interpretation of the text that you have chosen. Okay, there are tons of free sound effects out there. You can just Google free sound effects. Again, depending on whether you're using a Mac or PC, sometimes different sound files work better on your computer. I'm not going to talk about that too much because that's going to be a case-by-case thing. If you're having a lot of trouble, please send me an email and tell me what the problem is. Do not email and say it just doesn't work. Tell me what kind of computer you're using. Tell me what kind of file you're using. Potentially send me your FLA file. But soundj.com, which I've included the link for, is a good resource for simple sound effects. Think about sound as a textural element. Wind, waves lapping over a beach. That doesn't have to be very complicated, but you'll see on some of the examples that I uploaded today for Project 2 that sound is used very well as a textural element. It is minor. It is probably, in those examples that I've shown, very, very easy to insert, but it makes the movie more complete. Email me with any questions about this. Again, your movie should look something like this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Good luck.